Men of Iron, Chapter 19. As was said, perhaps a month passed. Then Miles's visits came to an abrupt termination, and with it ended, in a certain sense, a chapter of his life. One Saturday afternoon he climbed the garden wall, and skirting behind a long row of rose bushes that screened him from the Countess's terrace, came to a little summer house where the two young ladies had appointed to meet him that day. A pleasant half hour or so was passed, and then it was time for Miles to go. He lingered for a while before he took his final leave, leaning against the doorpost and laughingly telling how some of his brother squires had made a figure of straw dressed in men's clothes, and had played a trick with it one night upon a watchman against whom they bore a grudge. The young ladies were listening with laughing faces, when suddenly Miles saw the smile vanish from Lady Alice's eyes, and a wide terror take its place. She gave a half-articulate cry, and rose abruptly from the bench upon which she was sitting. Miles turned sharply, and then his very heart seemed to stand still within him. For there, standing in broad sunlight, and glaring in upon the party with baleful eyes, was the Earl of Mackworth himself. How long was the breathless silence that followed Miles never could tell. He knew that the Lady Anne had also risen, and that she and her cousin were standing as still as statues. Presently the Earl pointed to the house with his staff, and Miles noted how it trembled in his hand. "You wenches," said he at last in a hard, harsh voice, "you wenches, what means this? Would ye deceive me so, and hold parlance thus secretly with this fellow? I will settle with him later. Meantime get ye straight away to the house, and to your rooms, and there abide until I give ye leave to come forth again. Go, I say." "Father," said Lady Anne in a breathless voice. She was white as death, and moistened her lips with her tongue before spoke. "Father, ye will not do harm to this young man. Spare him, I do beseech you, for truly it was I who bade him come hither. I knew that he would not have come but at our bidding." The Earl stamped his foot upon the gravel. "Did ye not hear me?" said he, still pointing the house with his trembling staff. "I bade ye go to your rooms. I will settle with this fellow, I say, as I deem fitting." "Father," began Lady Anne again, but the Earl made such a savage gesture that the poor Lady Alice uttered a faint shriek, and Lady Anne stopped abruptly, trembling. Then she turned and passed out the farther door of the summer-house, the poor little Lady Alice following, holding her tightly by the skirts, and trembling and shuddering as though a fit of the ague. The Earl stood looking grimly after them, from under his shaggy eyebrows, until they passed away behind the yew trees, appeared again upon the terrace behind, entered the open doors of the woman's house, and were gone. Miles heard their footsteps growing fainter and fainter, but he never raised his eyes. Upon the ground at his feet were 4 pebbles, and he noticed how they almost made a square, and would do so if he pushed one of them with his toe, and that it seemed strange to him that she should think of such a foolish little thing at that dreadful time. He knew that the Earl was looking gloomily at him, and that his face must be very pale. Suddenly Lord Mackworth spoke. "What have ye to say?" said he harshly. Miles raised his eyes, and the Earl smiled grimly as he looked his victim over. I have naught to say," said the lad huskily. "Did ye not hear what my daughter said?" asked the Earl. "She said that ye came not of your own free will. What say you to that, sirrah? It is true. Is it true?" Miles hesitated for a moment or two. His throat was tight and dry. "Nay," said he at last, "she lies. It was I who first came into the garden. I fell by chance for the tree yonder. I was seeking a ball, and I asked those two if I might not come hither again, and so have done some several times in all. But as for her, nay, it was not at her bidding that I come, but by my own asking." The Earl gave a little grunt. "And how often have you been here?" said he presently. Miles thought a moment or two. This makes the 7th time," said he. Another silence followed. and Miles began to pluck up some heart that maybe all would yet be well. The Earl's next speech dashed that hope into 1,000 fragments. Well, you know, said he, that it is forbidden for any to come here. Well ye know that twice have men been punished for this thing that ye have done, and yet ye came in spite of all. Now do you know what ye will suffer? Miles picked with nervous fingers at a crack in the oaken post against which he leaned. Maybe you will kill me, he said at last in a dull, choking voice. Again the Earl smiled a very grim smile. Nay, said he, I would not slay you, for ye have gentle blood. But what say ye should I shear your ears from your head, or perchance have you scourged in the great court? The sting of the words sent the blood flying back to Miles's face, and he looked up. Nay, said he with a boldness that surprised himself, ye shall do no such unlordly thing upon me as that. I be your peer, sir, in blood, and though ye may kill me, ye have no right to shame me. Lord Mackworth bowed with a mocking courtesy. Marry, said he, I thought it was one of my own saucy popinjay squires that I caught sneaking here, and talking to those two foolish young lasses. And lo, it's a young lord, or mayhap ye are some prince, and command me that I shall not do this and shall not do that. Oh, I do crave your lordship's honourable pardon, if I have said aught that may have gulled you. The fear Miles had felt was now beginning to dissolve in rising wrath. Nay, said he stoutly, I be no lord, and I be no prince, but I be as good as ye, for I am not the son of your one time very true comrade and your kinsman, to wit, Lord Falworth, who, as ye know, is poor and broken, and blind and helpless, and outlawed and banned. Yet, cried he, grinding his teeth, as the thought of it all rushed in upon him, I would rather be in his place than in yours, for though he be ruined, you— He had just enough sense to stop there. The Earl gripped his staff behind his back, and with his head a little bent was looking keenly at the lad from his shaggy grey brows. Well, said he as Miles stopped, ye've gone too far now to draw back. Say your say to the end. Why would ye rather be in your father's stead than in mine? Miles did not answer. Ye shall finish your speech, or else show yourself a coward. Though your father is ruined, ye did say, I am what? Miles keyed himself up to the effort and then blurted out, Ye are attended with shame. A long, breathless silence followed. Miles Falworth, said the Earl at last, and even in the whirling of his wits, Miles wondered what he had named so pat. Miles Falworth, of all the bold, mad, hair-brained fools, ye are the most foolish. How do ye dare say such words to me? Do ye not know that ye make your coming punishment 10 times more bitter by such a speech? Aye, cried Miles desperately, but what else could I do? If I do not say the words, ye would call me coward, and coward I am not. By our lady, said the Earl, I do believe you. Ye are as bold and impudent a varlet as ever lived to beard me so. Hark, ye say I think not of my old comrade. I will show that ye do belie me. I will suffer that ye have said to me for his sake, and for his sake will forgive you your coming hither, which I would not do in any case to any man. Now get you gone, and come hither no more. Yonder is that postern gate. Mayhap you know the way. But stay, how come ye hither? Miles told him of the spikes he had driven in the wall, and the Earl listened, stroking his beard. When the lad ended, he fixed a sharp look upon him. But ye drove not those spikes alone. Who helped you do it? That I may not tell, said Miles firmly. So be it, said the Earl. I will not ask you to tell his name. Now get you gone, and as for those spikes, knock them out of the wall, since ye drove them in. Play no more pranks if you would keep your skin whole. Go, I say. Miles needed no further bidding, but turned and left the Earl without another word. As he went out the postern gate, he looked over his shoulder. The tall figure in its long, fur-trimmed gown was still standing in the middle of the path, looking after him under the shaggy eyebrows. As he ran across the quadrangle, his heart still fluttered in his breast. He muttered to himself, That old grizzled beard, if I had not faced him a bold front, mayhap he would have put such shame upon me as he said. I wonder why he stood staring after me as I left the garden. Then for the time the matter slipped from his mind, except the part that smacked of adventure.